Hello everyone, and welcome to Lessons From the Hivemind Part 3. If you would like a visual manifestation of the craziness that's going on in my head right now, you could visit the public Google Doc in the description down below and see the script or the scripts and the brainstorms, and it's just a visual outline of how my thought process is going. So I hope you guys enjoy the podcast, and I'm having to be a lot more honest than I thought I would have to be on this podcast, and it's both a good thing and a bad thing, but you will see where I'm at, and just my feelings on deadlines and this and building a business at the same time, and just the truth of what a hard thing this is. So I hope you guys enjoy. Have a wonderful day. So, starting a business at the same time as making a film, when you don't have any money and you have to make money for your business and your film, it's a pretty ridiculous thing to do. A lot of people tell you to simplify your life, and I think they're right. So, but I don't know the way forward, because I want to hit my deadlines, but there's just so much going on that it's very hard to do. And what I think I want to do, because I want to do it all, I really do. I want to bring this value to people. The people in my age group specifically that I've told about this have gotten very excited about the concept, and they sound like they want to come along for the ride, and they sound like they want to use it to achieve their goals. I just am so annoyed that there aren't 50 hours in a day. I'm also not getting very much better, Exhibit A, at speaking verbally. So maybe this speaking thing... I don't know. I was going to say maybe this speaking thing isn't for me because I'm spending so much time editing the podcast. If I could just throw it out there and not care what you people think. God, I'm editing this segment in this one, and I say like so many times. And I sound like such an American. I sound like such an American. I think about, this is what goes through my mind. It's like, oh my God, my family's going to listen to this at home. My friends at home are going to listen to this, and they're going to go, oh my God, he's turned into an American. And to an extent, they're right. To an extent, I do have a bit of an American accent now. But I'm a very adaptable person, and when I go back to England, that accent's going to come back for a while. So... And also, when I'm talking to Americans, I sound way more American because, God, so many times they just stop me while I'm talking and, will comment on something that I said in the way that I said it. Let me turn the air conditioning off here for you guys. And they, something like that will happen where I lose my train of thought because they were commenting on the way that I said a word. Maybe it's just worth being insane. Being insane, Lorcan human being that I am, not trying to come across as this suave, intellectual dude, not trying to come across as someone who doesn't say like when they're interviewing someone for the first time. This is all just regular human being stuff, and the more honest I am, the more improvement I will show in myself, and the easier this podcast process will be. The whole reason I'm doing it this way is so it's easy, so that I can just do 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there, 30-minute conversation here, 20-minute conversation there, chuck it all together, compile it into this big boy podcast. That being said, this next part is still going to be edited. I had this conversation a few weeks ago, and I've been editing it throughout the week, and I just came to this conclusion, man. I just came to this conclusion that it's a waste of time. It's slowing me down on my deadlines. It's slowing me down on my film. It's slowing me down on the business. It's just slowing me down caring about what people think. And the initial statement of this whole process was, guys, I don't care what you think, I'm just going to do this. So, yeah, I guess that's where I'm at. I also said it was going to be due 2 weeks from that date. And here's the debate in my mind. You can really just, when you document this thing, you really see how overthinking my mind is, which is, I don't know if it's relatable or if it's just like, geez, dude, this guy needs to make up his mind. Either way, I don't know. What I was going to say is, tangent number 4, please. I'm just switching lanes here, boys and girls. Oh, well, never mind. Yeah, I don't know if I want to do a podcast every 2 weeks. I don't know if I want to update the script every 2 weeks. On one hand, it keeps me accountable. It keeps me held up to this vision that I make for myself. But on the other hand, why do I need to do a podcast every 2 weeks when I'm making a film? When I'm in the filming stage, I should just be making a video about the process. I shouldn't need to make a podcast. The whole point is documenting it in the easiest way possible, and at the end of the day, no one's going to be like, oh, where's the newest episode of the podcast? When I go back and listen to things like that too, it's just hard to listen to. Maybe I hate myself. Maybe I've secretly been hating myself this whole time. That could be possible. Basically, I'm gonna do what I do, and I'm gonna find out through trial and error if rigid deadlines are the best thing for me or not. Because right now, so many things are coming into my life, new ideas, new opportunities, that it's hard to pick a deadline. It's hard to put myself accountable to a certain time. But at the end of the day, if I just did this thing where I record myself, record these conversations, don't edit them, put them next to each other, chop them up, and throw them in, and don't worry about having the nice, slick intro with the new lav mic, then this whole thing, well, it would have been up by last week Wednesday. So, I don't know at the end of the day. We'll wait and see. I'm going to figure out what's best for me, and then I'm going to do that. And I've been running into a lot of problems with Hivemind EDU, which is the name of the business. I don't even know if I've announced that yet. Being like, how do we keep people accountable? Should we do deadlines? Should we do this? Should we do it by this way? You know? And at the end of the day, probably the 19th time that I've said that today, and it's not even the end of the day. It's what time is it right now? It's 4:40. It's nowhere near the end of the day! Maybe that was the first time I said it. I don't even... You know, I feel like it's vulnerable to put this stuff in there. I feel like it's honest. I feel like it's truth. And at the end of the day, the truth is what wins. I hope. That's what I've been told. That guy's pointing at me. What's he doing? Switching lanes! I did it, guys. Okay. We're going to go into the podcast now, and whatever it was I was going to say, I'll just find another time to say it, because it's left my mind, and I'm just doing 9 things at once right now, guys, so I'm sorry if it doesn't pan out perfectly, but I'm going to make this film, I'm going to make this business. Don't doubt me on that regard. You can doubt me on the times I'm going to do it right now, because... obviously, I am having some trouble with this. So, yeah. Time will tell, boys and girls. Time will tell. Alright, I am heading off now. Goodbye, everybody. I am wishy-washy about what I want to do. Like, I've had ideas
that are in one direction, and then I've had ideas that are in another direction. I've bounced them off other people, and then that's made me think of other things, and basically,
nail down one.
Yeah, I want to start writing. I want this episode to be writing number 1, and because the other 2 have been brainstorming, right? And I want this to be writing. Like, I want to have, like, by the time this podcast is out, like, probably 10 pages. So it's kind of nailing down which one I like, but the core concept is that a guy is addicted to passing out.
Right.
His name is Larry, and when he passes out, he goes into other dimensions. One concept is that when he goes into the other dimensions, he starts to mess with people's lives because he hates his life and he just wants to, like, be free, basically. He's like stuck by all these things. And I want to address overbearing parents, and I want to address school for people who aren't cut out for school, like him, like just looking at math homework. It's like actually one of the opening shots in one of my ideas. It's just like that, like, moment of just looking at math homework and the stress that causes, and then he just gets down and makes himself pass out.
Right.
He sees some other Larry's girlfriend and falls in love with someone else's girlfriend, and then tries to get back to that reality, and does whatever he can to get back to it, and then...
So he's inhabiting other Larrys in these dimensions?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so everyone is Larry. So there's Larry Love, Larry Lost, Larry Letdown, Larry Legs, Larry Lust.
Gotcha.
Or whatever, another L, right? Basically, an interesting concept that was brought up on the last one when I talked about it at work was that he, when he takes over other people's bodies, they take over his body and get revenge, basically. And they're like, God, this is the guy, right? Because when he takes over their bodies, they wake up in his body and they're like, what? One day they look in the mirror, they know what he looks like, so whenever that happens again, they, like, beat him up. I don't know, they do something. Eventually, the initial idea was that Larry Lost takes over Larry Love and kills Larry Love as himself. So he's like, he hates his life so much, and he wants to feel what it's like to kill himself, but he doesn't want to kill himself. So he smashes the TV and calls his girlfriend, like, a smelly bitch, and then, like, sings ABCs of, like, going on the stairs. Like, he's crazy.
Yeah.
And then
Larry Lunatic.
Yeah, like straight lunatic. Larry Lunatic. That's good. And he jumps off the top, and then when he hits the ground, Larry Love wakes up as Larry Lost.
Okay.
That was my initial idea.
Gotcha.
Then the concept of getting revenge came in from other Larrys, and somehow the other Larrys get involved. And it's like, do I want to make it that complicated? Because if it's a really good idea, I could probably get a level of funding, but I guess funding takes away from creative freedom unless it's from...
That's like a grant or something.
Crowdfunding,
right,
yeah. And if I could do crowdfunding, then I'd be okay. But right now I haven't got the views for that. But I could definitely... Maybe, I'm in Walnut Creek, right? Maybe I could get 1,000 here, 1,000 there from some rich parents who I can...
right,
give a couple smooches to and hope that they pay up.
Yeah.
But it's like I'm at a point right now where there's so many ideas, and I kind of want to incorporate them all into all the Larrys, but it's just, how do I tell those stories side by side? Like, how do I show before Larry, like, goes into another Larry? How do I show where that other Larry was before Larry went into him? Like those 15 seconds before that are probably pretty key. Like, where is this guy? What situation is he in? Or do I just throw them into the situation and then make the audience figure it out? That's a fun thing to do, but it's difficult. Like, what I'm thinking is it's difficult, right? So I want to make it simple, but I don't want to box myself in. Like, the crazier I've gotten, the more ideas I've had.
Right.
Which is good. I want ideas. And when it comes down to it, maybe I should just write and go along with the story. and just show him going into different worlds. But yeah, I mean, what kind of thoughts does it trigger for you?
So I think you're kind of left with two. I think the first. Well, how long are you looking to make this movie?
Probably like 30 minutes.
Okay. So within the first,
but I don't want to like put myself in a box.
Right.
Like,
obviously.
if this turns out to be a feature film and I can get funding for a feature film,
sure.
Screw it.
So I think within the first 20 to 25%, I think the two best routes to make the rest of the story cohesive with whichever path you take is either have that first 25% or 20% be establishing his character.
All the Larrys.
Well, so one choice would be just the central Larry and different aspects of his character that he's then going to explore in the other dimensions. Or you kind of move away from the central Larry part and try to show all those different Larrys, and together they kind of are forming one character, but you would explore each one in a separate way. So then they're already established as characters. So I guess the question is whether you want this to be an exploration of all the Larrys as kind of one like just all whole Larry, or I'm saying Larry too many times. The central Larry exploring different parts of himself, I guess. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I mean, one thing I've thought about is the normal Larry exploring different parts of himself through the other Larrys.
Which is why I kind of, in my opinion, would gear towards the intro of the first 20% being just the central Larry, but within that first bit we see
him go into other Larrys.
Maybe. Or you see him going through just his life generally and memories, that kind of thing. So we establish the character and see what aspects are important to him, which he's then going to explore later.
Yes.
Right.
Well, the thing there is that the most important thing to him is this ability to teleport into other worlds, and he's addicted to this. So he wants to shove this addiction, but at the same time, like, I want to play with the addiction thing where you have good reasons to go, right? Like, I want people to sympathize with his reasons to go into the other dimensions. And maybe, like, I've actually thought about him maybe being, like, a little bit, like, on the spectrum, you know? Like, a little bit off, because, I mean, one, he's damaging his mind, and two, that is a very trapped feeling that people like that can have, right? It's like no one understands me, I'm here alone, like, no one else is like me, and maybe then he could find a like-minded person, which would then take him out of that place.
Right.
They also, I mean, it also might be a thing where maybe he lacks empathy, and that can give him the ability to go into the other worlds and really screw over their lives, but at the same time, maybe he just thinks he's dreaming.
So, okay, what if whatever your cast of Larrys is, they're kind of representative of different parts of people or of his life, right? So, you know, love, motivation, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
What if the initial bit is showing him experiencing those things in, like, a bad way? So, with Larry Love, it'd be normal Larry getting rejected or something like that. And exploring these different parts of him as a person and how they seem to keep turning out badly. And then he goes in, and for the first kind of him exploring the other Larrys, they'll turn out great. Which is kind of how I think addiction does go initially. You know, at first it's great.
Yeah.
And then it starts to spiral down, and we see how it maybe leads to whatever conclusion we come up with.
Seriously, I mean, like, it is, like, great, like, the first time that people, like...
So I think, so show why he enjoys these alternate versions initially.
Like, should be like, thank God I found this. Maybe he should discover it, you know, within the film. I didn't think about that. I kind of wanted to just establish that this is the way that he was and he was tackling with it, but maybe that's an interesting point. Maybe you could show him as a kid, right? And maybe what made it, maybe he got hit by a bus, right? Maybe something crazy happened that damaged him, that could maybe even make the audience question, is this even happening? Like, is he really going into these other dimensions, or is he just insane? I think that could be cool. And then showing him discovering the first time.
And that he would discover this as a child in this one?
Yeah.
I think
not
so.
as a child, but as like probably around. I mean, when do people like? When is it really bad to like first start drinking or smoking weed? Like probably like 12, right?
12, 13, yeah.
Yeah.
I think if you're in middle school, it's like iffy.
Yeah, it's pretty iffy. Even 11. I know people that started at 11.
Really?
Yeah. So.
How does that even happen?
Just oftentimes it's parents, man.
That wasn't cool enough.
It's just wanting to escape, and it's like, yeah, just wanting to escape is usually it. So
I just mean in terms of access. Like I guess for me personally,
older brothers.
I didn't have one, so I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, older brothers, and then also like, just getting in with the wrong kids.
Right.
It's strange how that can happen so easily for the people who look for it, you know.
Yeah,
But I don't want him to be with the wrong crowd, right? Because why isn't he addicted to drugs, right? That's one big question. And one aspect I've thought about is that his parents are so overbearing, or something happened in his family that like you stay away from that.
Mm-hmm.
And like I just want like people to watch the film just the whole time, just be like, dude, just drink a beer, like smoke a joint, chill.
Right.
You know, like,
Yeah,
you'll be okay, you know, just every now and again, like. But it's like no, and he just has this like vision of no, and or maybe he gets caught, and that's
that could be the Larry Lost aspect, or I guess Lost would be some other L thing of him being.
Larry Lost is the name of the film. Larry Lost is the main character.
Gotcha. Okay,
Yeah.
So I was thinking another L, but some L that corresponds to him being trapped by those restrictions, I guess. And as he grows older, he's still just trapped himself because he's used to that. But since he feels like he can't reach out to ways that a normal person would, like, I don't know, smoking or something creative, whatever, passing out is his alternative addiction, basically. So whatever that L word is corresponds to him being trapped by that.
So you want this to be another character?
So the reason that he starts passing out could also be one of the characters, I think.
One of the other Larrys?
Right, yeah. A Larry whose focus within the film is on being trapped, basically, and feeling like they can't do anything to relieve that sense of loss, or being lost.
Well, that would be Larry Lost. So maybe you just integrate that into his personality, if that makes sense.
So it wouldn't need to be a separate...
the separate Larry would be one that isn't trapped, that is totally free.
Right, okay.
Larry Loose, right? Like, that was something like that, right?
Yeah.
Who he goes into to feel that feeling of just freedom.
Yeah.
Thought about one Larry being maybe like in a random ass spot, like he's in like, you go out to the hills or you go out to a desert or some like area that isn't populated, and he's just like shirtless and he has a dog and he just
some guru in the mountains,
like some guru, like, and it's like really weird, like,
right,
and
it's
I want
completely opposite of what we've seen.
Yeah, and just free, and it's like, and I think a lot of freedom or lack of freedom is self-imposed, or unwillingness to escape, you know, unwillingness to do the work to get out of your given situation.
Sure.
And I think,
would the idea be that sense of total freedom where he's in the mountains or whatnot, are we saying that's, when the film, is that supposed to be better, presumably?
Yeah, that's probably the first one that he passes out into, and he's just like, oh my god,
okay,
this is amazing. And it's like, does he control them straight away? That was my chair, guys. Does he control them?
it's disgusting.
Does he control them straight away?
Uh-huh.
Or does he just live in them? Have you seen Being John Malkovich?
No.
Watch it.
Okay.
But it's literally about a movie. It's a movie about a guy who, that he finds a portal in his office that, like, he goes into and he like teleports into John Malkovich's mind.
Oh really?
Yeah, and it starts out where he's just there.
Yeah.
And he's like watching. He's like, oh, it's John Malkovich. It was amazing. I should probably rewatch it to get some inspiration. But then eventually he gets to the point where he can take control of him.
This is funny.
And yeah, he like at the beginning he sells the portal, so people like, oh yeah, it was amazing, I was John Malkovich for a while. And they just live in the head, right? Yeah. So it's like, do I want to go through the same arc as that without copying it directly, or like he instantly takes them over?
I think if we want to look at it as addiction as a downward spiral, it'd probably be the reverse then. Of his initially is he has full control, and he starts to lose it.
Ah, I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah, almost like a tolerance kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, like a tolerance. That's and then he needs to pass out more and more times to get to the point where he can control.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that a lot. And then he could even suffer like a psychosis.
Yeah.
From just screwing up his head. That's the sad part, right? Is like, no matter what, he has killed so many brain cells by the end of this film.
Oh, absolutely.
So it's like, how do you find peace when you have no brain cells?
I think the interesting portrayal you're gonna have to, maybe one of the more important portrayals is how it affects his, the actual Larry Lost.
Yeah.
Right. Of when he actually comes back and he's for however brief of a time he's in his real head, what the effect is, and I guess why it then motivates him to have to go back more and more, because his real life gets more and more screwed up.
So what happens? So if he takes full control, then that means that Larry Loose has full control of him. So what's happening there? In that first scenario, or does he just get pulled into a portal, like into a room? Like that's one thought I've had. Is like there's just a room.
That Larry Loose does?
Yeah, and it's like everyone goes into this room.
Do you definitely want them to reverse necessarily?
Maybe not. And I mean, like, but if they don't reverse, then he has to go somewhere.
Larry Loose does?
Maybe, but maybe he's stuck in his head. And maybe he's like, what the hell? Like, what am I doing?
Maybe
But then he can't see Larry Lost.
So what if Larry Loose is staying in his own head? He can see. But he initially is fully out. He has no control. And the reason Larry Lost starts losing control is because the actual Larry Loose or Larry Love and whatnot start to take back control. More. So it becomes a battle between them.
Yeah.
So that could be the mechanism for how he starts to lose control.
Yeah. And then he takes over someone who is in love. Like, he takes over Larry Love and, like, steals his girlfriend. And Larry Love
is such a trippy love triangle.
Yeah, and Larry Love is stuck inside his head, and he's, like, seeing, like, this other guy, like, do all this shit to, like, ruin his relationship.
Right.
And he's like studied it. But how has he studied it if he takes them over?
How is Larry Lost studying it?
Studying Larry Love if he takes him over completely. Like,
well, so maybe
how does
initially
he find out who the girlfriend is? How does he find out?
So presumably with the passing out thing, he doesn't, before he ever does, he doesn't know if I pass out, this is going to happen. So at least initially he's got to be kind of confused, right? And maybe so the first few times he's kind of just observing. And then he starts to search control. So the first times we see him doing it involves him being like, oh, what the fuck? And observing things and kind of realizing, okay, this is how this guy's life works. And then he takes control.
He learns to take control.
Right. So
the whole time he had control.
But at first he's just
didn't
observing.
choose to use it.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Okay. So then the Larry Loose he just wouldn't even notice, really.
Initially, yeah.
Yeah.
And if... This is getting more on the visual side, but you could, even for those first things, kind of have him just, like, standing behind Larry Loose, just, like... watching. Yeah.
That's not a bad idea.
Yeah, if it's, like, black and then it's, like, the two...
Because I need a visual way to do it that's cheap.
Right.
You could do like the Black Mirror thing, right? Have you seen the episode when they
so that's the one issue.
The brain thing where they're like stuck in that white box.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to
see it.
Try to avoid doing the Get Out / Black Mirror thing.
Oh, because the Get Out thing again.
It was like
he's like stuck in
the sunken place where he's like falling back and the screen is getting farther and farther. I guess that one might not play as much, but
and that would be really hard to do for me.
True. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. What happened? Was he getting taken over again?
So,
no, Get Out has that vibe, huh?
Yeah, but it's a little different because the point is he has no control.
Yeah,
it's a little different.
Yeah, but he took back control, right? Or no?
So I think they him in the sunken place
one time,
twice. I think that the first time is with the hypnotist lady. Hypnotizes him, he's falling back around the thing, and the screen's getting farther and farther away. So he's lost control. And then she establishes that hypnotic signal, I guess. So she does the thing in the tea, and he wakes up in the chair. So each time she does the T thing, it's him like in the thing, like falling backwards.
Yeah.
But so they don't show him like rushing up to regain control or anything. He kind of just does it.
Yeah. Okay.
So you don't have to worry about copying their mechanism for that, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, visually that's gonna be tricky,
Yeah.
but I can play around with that. I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
I know I want to do like practical effects of like psychedelic visuals, but made of real things. So glass, right? Viewing a camera inside a glass, and the lens is spinning around, and there's like light that is being turned on and off around the side.
Okay.
And it's like, oh, it's like reflecting off the glass and stuff like that. Maybe like 50 different psychedelic visuals, and then just cut them in, and then zoom in on the eyes, and then cut to the visuals, and then zoom in on the other person's eyes, and then pull out.
So that'd be the transition.
That would be the transition.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
I have a lot of this visually, but I don't have the blocks. So this is actually a very helpful conversation to pull this together. So you think he should observe and enjoy observing.
Right.
Figure out one day that he can control, and then become over-controlling.
And then the other ones start taking it back.
And then the other ones
Yeah.
start taking it back.
Uh-huh.
But there needs to be a climax. And I think it's like a really interesting concept of what would happen if you killed the person.
Right. What do you mean from a scientific sense, or?
Or, well, if
Or
this
sense.
was a science,
Sure.
what would happen, you know? Because I like the idea of the soul just getting, like, torpedoed through all the different infinite Larrys. They're all Larrys are tall, blonde, white people, right? And I think I want one black guy. Just because I think that's a funny thing.
Just one short Mexican.
One short Mexican, yeah.
Just a quick racial commentary.
Just like for a minute. And I want the surroundings to have an effect on the different Larrys too. I want the worlds to feel strange, like California on steroids, and in the way that people talk, like everyone is fake.
So what if
the parents are very like, and like his sister is like,
you have like a low angle up to the parents?
Yeah, it's like all like very robotic and simulation-y.
So what if each kind of, I guess, abstract like facet that each Larry occupies, their world reflects that aspect. So Larry Lost, the surrounding world would be kind of what you're describing, like staring at math homework and just grayed out color palette, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Whereas Larry Love would be kind of a reddish pink palette and that kind of thing.
More real, more.
Right. So their world reflects the last name basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want a redemption.
You want Larry Lost to be redeemed?
Yeah, I mean it's not his fault, right? Like his surroundings have done this to him, along with his. I mean, so if he needs to be controlled for him to want to control other people, and then I guess it's him taking that step in his life, that is taking back control of his own life. So maybe, I just figured it out. Someone else learns to do the same thing, starts to take him over, and then he's like, oh my god, this is what it's like. And then when he learns to take control of that guy, there needs to be something else.
One thought I'm having. So, okay, what if we in the intro established that so he has some creative passion in music, art, writing, whatever, that he kind of engages in when we first find him. As he starts passing out and getting more and more into it, he starts doing that less and less, and when we finally get to the point where he shoots Larry...
I wanted it to be fighting. For some reason. And that makes...
Oh, his passion?
And that makes total sense for someone who has no brain cells.
Yeah.
Because he's going to lose... Like, so what? Like, he loses brain cells. But he's a fighter. It's primal, right?
So what if at the end he shoots Larry loose in that, whatever, and he flies back, tries to pass out again, and he can't.
He shoots Larry loose in the head.
He's killing himself, killing Larry.
Oh, he kills Larry Love.
Larry Love, sorry.
Maybe.
He makes it Larry's. Okay.
Or maybe does something to him.
Yeah, so...
He's in a coma, I don't know.
Right, so something like that. And he comes back, tries to pass out again, but he can't now. And he kind of like turns in there, whatever the thing is, boxing gloves, whatever. And then the conclusion of his redemption is him putting those back on. Or writing, whatever. Something like that. So that's the redemption.
You know what? One of the ideas I had early on was that when Larry... the idea that I had when Larry Lost killed Larry Love actually goes in a coma, right? And then Larry Lost gets stuck in... No, I don't think he should kill him. I think he should I think he should steal his girlfriend.
Okay.
And when he steals his girlfriend...
Wouldn't that happen by virtue of him controlling him, though?
Yeah. But, like, fully controlling. Like, he literally escapes to his life. But then,
Okay.
And then somehow, like, Larry... Maybe the addiction gets him out of it, right? And
Gets Larry Lost out of it?
Larry Lost, like, still has to pass out.
As Larry Love.
As Larry Love. And then when that happens, they switch bodies.
Okay.
And then Larry Love, because he's a kind soul, he hates it at the beginning. Obviously, his life sucks. He's like, what is going on? Who are these people? Why are they doing this to me? But he knows how to break out of that because of his life situation.
Right.
He has parents that have given him the ability to make his own path. You know, he's been well crafted, right?
Right.
Larry Love, as Larry Lost, tries to paint.
Oh.
And then he can't paint.
Right. Okay.
And he sucks. So it's like, what am I gonna do? And then he sees like a poster of Muhammad Ali on the guy's wall, and you know, things start coming. Like maybe he just starts like feeling out in his body, but maybe Larry Love's trapped in this brain with like screwed up. He's trapped in this screwed up brain.
That Larry Lost is, or Larry Love is?
Larry Love is now trapped in Larry Lost's brain.
Okay.
So Larry Lost's brain is all screwed up from getting hit by a bus and passing out for, 3 years.
I like all that. I'm realizing we're kind of forgetting... Well, I guess the question is, how many Larrys do you want?
Yeah, exactly. That only
because
brings it down to 2.
we've been focused on 2.
But,
so 2 or 3, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, establishing, right? There's like 7.
Okay. And you want to
we hone in on 2 because you can't hone it. You can't tell a story of 18 Larrys, right? Yeah. And then at some point there's like a cool finale where there's teleport, like he goes into all the Larrys, blah 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 blah, like it's crazy.
Yeah.
The visuals just get insane, and then Larry Lost maybe wakes up back as himself, and it's like he's in a situation, but he didn't do it. So that's my problem. It's like he didn't do the work to get himself out of that situation. Larry Love did. Like he's in a fight, for example. Like he's doing jiu-jitsu and gets choked out,
right? And
then he wakes up again, and they switch back.
So it's like it's almost not a redemption because it wasn't him.
Because it wasn't him, right? And it's like maybe that's kind of like, maybe that's a little bit like cheeky, Maybe that's a cool storyline, but
I think it might. I don't know the exact message you're going for. I think you often figure out what you're trying to say as you go along.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
I feel like that. My sense is that it's a good storyline, but it might counteract what you're probably gonna end up trying to say.
Yeah, it doesn't feel right.
Yeah, because I think you want him to go along that path himself.
Yeah. Right? I want him to realize, but maybe he realizes through being in the wrong life. Like maybe he starts to screw up Larry Love's life, and he's like, oh my god, maybe this wasn't the world. Maybe this was me. Mm. And then...
Yeah.
Like he loses the girlfriend.
Right.
He does everything the same as Larry Love. Like, what? I'm painting still? He can paint now. And he can like do all this stuff. Like he has the vibe, but he's off. He's trying to be him instead of being himself.
Right.
And slowly things start to destruct.
What if?
And oh my god, he would have a clear brain for once.
Yeah.
It's like you really feel bad for him, and you really understand. It's like, oh.
So it's like by going into the other ones, he learns that it wasn't the world; it was him.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, so what if when he comes back, realizes that, and then we can kind of see his transition, maybe into Larry Luce-esque, I guess. By experiencing these other Larrys, he's freed of the issues and inhibitions that he had before.
Yeah. Maybe he becomes Larry Luce.
Yeah.
Maybe Larry Luce is like.
So that could be the last thing.
Is Larry future Luce. Him.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
And it's like what? The whole time he was Larry.
This is gonna be so trippy.
Exactly.
What goes around is already trippy. This new trippy.
I know. Yeah. I think I love just stupid stuff.
Yeah. You want people to come out like, what?
Yeah. What? But like also feel, I've said this on this podcast so many times, but I don't like good films that feel wrong.
Feel wrong in what sense?
Like, they just rub you the wrong way. Like, you're enjoying it the whole time, and the ending happens. It's like, they were like trying to be different. They were trying to...
It's confusion for the sake of confusion.
Yeah, and it's like...
Yeah.
It's just, you feel sick. And it's like, it doesn't matter how cool it was.
Right.
How amazing it was. Like, The Revenant was kind of like that. It's like a beautiful film.
Right.
Beautiful. Astonishing. I love that director. And just his style, his one-shots are insane. The opening scene of The Revenant is one of the most, like, amazing scenes. Have you seen it?
I've seen that clip. I haven't seen the whole movie.
The one where, like, the Indians are coming, the indigenous peoples are coming in.
God damn it. Shut it down.
They're coming in, and, like, it's like the arrow goes, like, in that guy's head, and it's like, and then the boat's coming in. It's all one shot. Well, it's not really one shot, but it looks like it's one shot.
Yeah.
Like, they filmed that an hour a day, because that was the only... It was all filmed with natural lighting.
Really?
They filmed it an hour a day.
That's
for
insane.
Like months and months and months in cold and snow, and Leonardo DiCaprio was crawling around like the whole time. And that's why they got
that
the
poor
Oscar.
man.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And, like, he's had better performances, but like he went through some shit in that film, probably literally. But it's just like it's like a revenge film, and then he looks in the camera. And it's like,
It's like you can kind of see the vision, and then you can also see where it becomes like, I need to be artsy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, kind of. It's like the artsiness is fine.
Well, it's because if you're gonna be artsy, there needs to be a reason for it, and that's to be something you actually wanted to do. You not because you're like, oh, I need this to stand out by being just so unique.
Exactly. Yeah. I want it to be. I mean, I want it to be unique, but I want it to be
an
archetypal story. I want it to be
right.
something that, because archetypes resonate with people.
Right. It should deserve to be artsy.
Yes,
yeah.
Exactly. It should. That's a very good way of putting it. It should deserve to be artsy.
Yeah.
Not just be artsy for the sake of artsy.
Right. I think, I don't know this for sure. I'd imagine there's a lot of probably younger filmmakers who have that, film stuff like black and white and shit like that.
Yeah.
It's got to be a thing.
Oh, but lots of black and white student films.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
They don't actually know.
And they all start with the definition of a word. It's like reverence, solidarity. Yeah, exactly. And then it says the act of
noun.
Noun. Yeah. It's so funny. Maybe I'll do.
Yeah,
that.
the definition. Then dot dot dot.
I'll do.
Is it? Question mark.
I'll do Larry. A name.
Or is it?
Or is it? No, but like, I want it to have it doesn't have to be a happy ending, but I want it to feel like
resolved.
It's asking the audience, is it you, or is it your life? You know, and probably it's you.
Yep.
Whether or not, like, whatever situation you're in, you know, and it's hard for me to say that from my position of privilege, right? But I see it on people, you know. I see people who just, like, especially here, because they have the same things that I have. Right? And I see it because I came from England, and it's like, everyone, like, celebrities in England want to live in California, you know? So yeah.
Okay.
I mean, some, of course, you know, some obviously love England, but, like, it's like, I'm in this position where it's like, I'm where celebrities wish they were. Like, that's crazy.
Right.
In, like,
in
some
the heart
of
of
Europe
everything.
and Africa, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, there's these kids here that just don't care. They don't see what they have.
Yeah. Well, I think the reason that, in terms of the privilege aspect, why it's okay is you're not talking to an African American person saying the reason that you have like a poor economic standard is you, because that wouldn't be the case. But you're also not trying to say that.
Yes.
You're talking to people like us who are suburban, mostly white kids who are kind of lost, probably.
Yes, kind of, but at the same time, if he's going to be a little, like, on the spectrum, maybe he shouldn't be, you know? If I want to talk to kids who want to make the most of their surroundings, I also want to talk to parents who are doing that to their kids.
Which I think comes through him, and, like, kind of what you were saying of the parents. And
yeah.
leaning over. And,
yeah.
I just realized no one listening to this can see me do this leaning down head thing. But yeah.
No, seriously. I mean, that's a really big thing that I want to talk about. It's just how parents are so controlling here.
I think have every parent be robotic.
Yeah, everyone past the age of 45.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
Just turn into Peter Pan. Yeah.
But I think I really like the idea of him having clarity of mind finally when he goes into Larry Love's body.
Yeah.
And it's almost like a really interesting thing. I wonder what happens to him. Is he just passed out? I guess he goes in a coma, right?
Larry Love?
No, Larry Lost. He just
when he's in Larry Love? Or?
He's just collapsed.
Oh, while he's passed out.
Yeah, and he's just collapsed for 6 weeks, or 5
while
weeks,
he's in the
6
coma.
weeks.
Okay, yeah.
That would be crazy. No, Larry Lost when he teleports into the other dimensions.
So his body is
what's happening to his body?
Lying there, right?
Yeah. But I think there's something really interesting about him choosing to come back to a messed up mind.
Right.
Because it's his life and he can do with what the cards that he's been given what he wants, and it's not about, because I'm taking the surroundings into account, right? So it's not about saying to people who aren't in a position of privilege, it's your fault. It's about saying, I know you're there, but what are you going to do? You're going to do the best that you can do.
No matter where you are, it's easy to attribute everything to your surroundings. Doesn't change the fact of where you are. So what it comes down to is, are you going to try to change it?
Yeah. Or are you going to try to just escape, and you see your life get worse and worse? Why does he go back?
From being Larry Love?
Yeah. Because he's screwing up the life of Larry Love. And what's his realization? How do you show the thought process?
Maybe so you don't know the layout yet, but what we've kind of come up with is they're basically two little homunculi in the kind of this area where they can see everything. They're controlling him, right?
Mm-hmm.
And whoever's not in control is probably behind them. So what if Larry Lost doesn't really acknowledge Larry Love, and as he's kind of bringing everything to shit, you get to whatever the climax of him taking everything to shit is.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when he turns and kind of actually sees what's happening to Larry Love, the person whose life he stole.
Mm.
And I don't know how Larry Love is communicating that exactly, but maybe that's his realization.
Yeah, he just sees it. He sees
what it's doing to him.
He sees himself.
Yeah.
The trapped feeling. Or he passes out, and they go into a room and they have a conversation.
Larry Lost and Larry Love passes out.
Yeah, and they have some kind of we're in the room. I want that. I kind of want that to be a mind palace, place where I can do a lot of the exposition and kind of work through some of the stuff, because there's so much here that is going to be so hard to write.
Right. Yeah. Hard to film too.
Yeah, and hard to film. Well, I mean, once you come up with the technique, it's going to be okay. It's just coming up with that technique. Maybe I need to come up with a technique to finish the story. I don't know.
What do you mean technique?
The way that I'm going to show.
Oh, you mean the visual resolution?
Yeah. That's what I should start doing. I should start doing more visual stuff for this channel.
Yeah, essentially.
And actually start doing the psychedelic visuals.
Right.
And just start working on it.
Often you can figure out the story from
that stuff.
If you have an idea of a shot, you can kind of say, oh, this is what that communicates, but you're seeing it in a visual sense.
Yeah, exactly. But we covered a lot of room here.
Yeah.
There's obviously some things, but often that you figure out the ending when you start writing.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think to be honest, I think I'm scared of writing this, especially dialogue.
We talked about it last week or whatever. The hardest part of any of this stuff is just starting.
The thing about film schools, it's so much money, and it's they make you do things make a movie out of these pictures. You have 7 pictures, you have to make a movie out of this. It's because you need to deal with limitations. It's that's unrealistic. Limitations I get, but
yeah, well, no, it's the wrong limitations.
Yeah, exactly.
You go to these film schools, and they're like, deal with these limitations that limit your story, and then they give you the biggest budget you can work with as a student.
Yeah.
But in the real world, one of the biggest limitations you can be working with is budget. Like,
Yep. Seriously.
you're gonna
seriously
have your studio wrestling you
Yeah.
on how much you can spend on a
That's
movie.
what they should do. That's totally right.
That's
Make
one
a
of the-
make a movie for $100.
Yeah, that's one of the things that like is
Make a movie for $1,000.
I heard about, like, people at State talked about, is like people at Chapman know how to make, like, set up technically beautiful shots and perfect lighting. People at State know how to stretch a dollar, and people are looking for people who know how to stretch a dollar.
Really? What do you mean? Oh, at San Diego State?
Yeah,
Really? Film students from there?
yeah, because they have to fund their own projects.
Oh.
People at Chapman usually have,
Why don't I know anything about them then? I've looked into
'Cause that's
San
what,
Diego
like-
film so much, and I've not found anything.
the thing about like San Diego Film, it's not a big enough program that has enough funding for them to hire a permanent marketing person. So the professors who are teaching the classes are the ones who also have to try to handle their online markets and have to push forward. So that's kind of
Wow.
why they're not on the Hollywood top 25 list,
Yeah.
because they don't have anybody to push them to get on the 25 list. Chapman is
Ah.
a huge school with huge funding,
They
so they
spend-
hire people
oh my
specifically
God.
to say, hey, this place is worth it, and to come up with reasons why, and to sell people
There is
the Hollywood
probably
Reporter on
in
that.
colleges. There's probably so much corruption. It's insane.
Oh yeah.
Because that's where all the money is.
Mhm.
You got to think about all this. You know, there's the full student debt is $1.6 trillion. Like if you add up all the student debt,
How much in debt is America?
$20 trillion.
Ooh, that's a
Yeah.
big chunk.
$20 trillion. That's what I'm talking about with this crash thing, man.
It's coming.
Whether it's in 20 years, still prepare.
Yeah.
That means you prepared 20 years early, and you're fine. Imagine if you prepared for 20 years for a crash.
I mean, that's what everyone should. Whenever a crash ends, you should start saving up for the next one.
Yeah.
Prepare either you or your children for it.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
Yeah.
That's how, honestly, it's a waiting game.
Mhm.
All of this is when that thing happens, you seize opportunities because you were prepared.
Mhm.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, that's cool. That's cool that State is a good program. How did you find this out?
I got a tour from one of the heads of the department.
Really?
My friend just graduated from there, and he got my dad and I to get a personal tour from them throughout the department where I was trying to choose
That's
colleges.
awesome, dude.
Yeah. So he
Do you think I could definitely house with other filmmakers then next year?
yeah,
Right?
yeah. I mean, I definitely
If you got in
yeah.
and then met people, we could
Yeah.
definitely make a house.
Mhm.
So you know what? I'm surviving until then. I'm surviving
determined.
until then, and then or surviving in San Diego to make connections,
Yeah.
get a job, all that stuff. Prepare. Make Larry Lost, and then we work on then Hivemind just ramps up, because
Yeah.
from there it will be my goal will be grow a business,
Yeah.
and just do that for a year.
Mhm. After you beta test it with Larry Lost. And everybody.
Exactly. Yeah. Damn. I'm playing a long game.
That's what making a business is. Yeah.
Yep. I almost know it's gonna work. It's weird.
Just.
As long as I can get people to help. If I can't get people to help, then it's not gonna work.
I mean, it's a good idea. You've
Yeah.
got people already behind it,
Yep.
and I mean, people need it. Honestly, so many people just get hung up on
Everyone.
not having people pushing them.
It's or it's not everyone, but it's there's people who know what they want to do, and then they just do it for themselves.
Mhm.
They don't think about other people, because there's this mentality of you should kick out the toxic people in your life,
Yeah.
kick out the unmotivated people in your life. But I think there is merit to growing or to pulling people out of that place.
Yeah. Because the great thing about what you're doing with that Hivemind
Uh-huh.
is that it's not just for film or
Uh-huh.
music. It's just anything that somebody wants to do.
Yeah.
Everybody has a potential in some field. So whatever it is that they've been dreaming of doing
Yeah.
forever, and being oh, I can't do that, or I'll do it at this time because I'll be at a better place at the time, and you're at that time and you're not the place you thought you'd be.
Yep, exactly. That
You
happens
just
all the time.
Yeah. And you gotta just get your shit moving.
Yep.
Like,
how many goals do people set that they don't fulfill?
most of them.
Most people.
Yeah.
And it's okay to want a framework,
Yeah.
you know?
Which is, Hivemind is sort of setting out a framework.
Well, it's okay not to want a framework. It's okay to need a framework,
Mhm.
you know? Like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to get up early in the morning if there's nothing to do that I like.
Yeah.
That's the fact. Or that I'm going to get fired. Like, if I'm going to get fired, I'm going to get up early,
Yeah.
no matter what, you know? If I don't care, I'll probably get fired.
If it's a bad enough job.
Yeah, exactly. So this episode was a lot more of a brainstormer than I anticipated, and there were quite a few blocks and times where I didn't record my thought process, because I kind of told myself that I would do it later, or I lost my train of thought, or, you know, maybe I'm kind of at this point where recording my thought process is almost more of a barrier than a creative help, because it's an excuse to, you know, act like I worked on the script by talking about it, worked on the story by talking about it. But even conversations and stuff, even if it's recorded, it's still not in existence yet as the intention of what it's supposed to be, which is a script. So, you know, I don't want to... I've been reading this Save the Cat book, and it talks a lot about slowing down from starting writing and starting to get your kind of your pitch, your log line in order, so that you can see that it's a story that resonates and has some irony and is actually a good story, you know? This thing just really shows how crazy my head is going right now, and left and right and up and down with the story and in terms of where it's going to go and where it is. And I'm definitely getting closer, and I think the story's getting better, but I definitely need to slow down a bit in terms of making this giant thing. And maybe it has the potential to be a giant thing, and I think I might leave it open-ended with the potential of being expanded upon in the future. But right now I just need to tell a story that is manageable, but still outside of the realms of what I think is possible. Also, this Hivemind thing has really been... it's taking off a lot more than I would have anticipated, and that means literally, you know, in the world, and also just in my mind and in terms of where my focus is going. And it's causing a lot of debate as to whether or not I'm chasing the right things, whether or not I should be doing a film and a business, or just film or just business. But you know what, we're in such a versatile world right now, and really at the end of the day I know I can do both. I just know it's also going to be harder. It's going to be easier said than done. So we'll have to see what happens next. But I'm looking forward to these next few months, this next year. And the film is priority, and I need to keep that in mind. Larry Lost comes first, because without that, the Hivemind doesn't have a solid example of it working. And, you know, I'm going to be honest. This block and extra weight of creating a podcast alongside a script and constantly refreshing the script, it's tricky, but it's doable, but it's also a lot harder when you have a lot of things on your plate. So we're just gonna have to see how it goes, and maybe a rigid schedule is the way that I do have to go, and maybe not. But I'm experimenting, and time will tell. I'm kind of beta testing, as was earlier said in the show, Larry Lost as the first Hivemind product. And if you guys want to learn more about the Hivemind, visit hivemind.edu.com in the description below.
Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed the episode. It was a very long one. I don't really think very many people would have reached this to the end. But I'm going to start making YouTube videos too, and higher quality pieces of documentation, and maybe that'll be easier for me to do because it's more of feels more like a film, you know, and less of a deviation off the path of what I need to get done. But we'll see. Time will tell. It's going to happen. It's just 2 steps forward, 1 step back, as it should be. Alright, see you guys next time.